What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, it's transfer tips ahead of game week 11. So we're going to talk about some popular players that you might be thinking about buying, you might be thinking about selling. What should you do with them? I'm going to discuss it in this video. So if you enjoy it, give it a like, hit that subscribe button if you're new around here, and let's jump into it. So just literally as I'm about to record this video, or record this section at least, Spurs have just confirmed that Antonio Conte is going to be the new manager of their club, of Spurs, of course, which if you're a Spurs fan is pretty exciting. For FPL, it's pretty good. If you're a Man United fan, maybe a little bit less so. Again, not going to get into that massively in this video, but we are going to talk about Harry Kane. Now, he's only been transferred out by about 21,000 managers, and his transfers in aren't that high either, so it's not like people are really moving on him massively. We know the fixtures are good. We discussed Spurs players yesterday, Reguilon and Son in particular. That game week 12 to 15 in particular is decent. There's a few things to think about with Spurs, with Conte, and with Kane, right, which we'll discuss. So first of all, I guess, is how he's been playing. He hasn't been fantastic. Rightly so, people pointed out that I said Kane's numbers have been okay. They're actually quite a bit down on previous seasons, like his expected goals, his expected assists. They're not awful, but for 12.1 million, you would probably want better, especially his expected goals. Now, a lot of his performances, people are putting down to the fact he doesn't want to be there. Maybe it was Nuno Espirito Santo being too cautious, etc. I think there's a few people that kind of saying Conte's a defensive manager, but I don't think that's the case at all. He plays a three at the back system, but those systems can score plenty of goals, as we've seen at other clubs he's managed. And we've also seen Tuchel doing it right now at Chelsea, right? They are scoring plenty of goals as well. So I'm not really too concerned about that. I'm also not really concerned about how he's playing. I mean, he did perfectly fine against Newcastle. Then he had 2 matches against West Ham away, Man United at home. It didn't go well, right? But they got a new manager now, and the fixtures are really about to turn. Everton away is not even a bad fixture right now, because Everton are playing pretty poorly. So I think if you wanted to buy Kane, there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't definitely think about it, right? I'm not 100% sure, but I'm fairly confident that he will be one of my transfers in game week 12. There's still a lot to think about for my own team, which I'll cover tomorrow. But I think this is going to bring... I think it's going to bring hope to Spurs, and I think probably hope to Harry Kane. Now, whether or not there is talk in the background in January, probably not, by the way, but maybe in the summer of him still getting that Man City move, I don't know. But this is a manager who can potentially bring trophies to Spurs. It's not going to happen overnight, I get that. It's probably not going to happen this season, but there's a genuine chance now if he gets to buy the players that he wants to buy, and that is surely going to perk Kane up a bit, especially with these fixtures to come. The other thing to kind of discuss, right, with making this purchase, it's a lot of money, 12.1 million. Some of you might have to restructure a little bit to get him in, maybe not so much if you've got Jamie Vardy. We have to talk about captaincy. When you pay that much money, ideally you want to captain a player. It doesn't mean you have to captain them just because you're in your just because they're in their team, or your team I should say, but obviously if you're going to captain them, that makes the transfer a little bit more viable. I don't know with these fixtures which ones we might want to captain him in. Norwich at home is probably the one that I would be eyeing up, because you've had a few games under Conte then to see how they're playing. Spurs in general, you've got a few games to see how Kane's playing, and I think that week, I think Salah's got something like Wolves away. I'll just double check, I've spoken about it enough times. Yeah, Wolves away. So you could look to potentially captain Harry Kane there, and if you're brave enough, you could do it in any of those other fixtures as well. So I think those numbers, expected goals, expected assists, will probably go up. He hasn't played well. Spurs haven't played well. 2.8 points per match is really low. The other thing I would kind of say is, I feel like in FPL you've got to look for opportunity sometimes. And look, lots of people are going to bring in Spurs players. Some people will have already done it because of the fixtures coming up. Some people will do it because of the manager. But there'll still be a lot of people that will say things like, Conte won't be able to turn it around that quickly. Kane just doesn't want to be there regardless. They've been playing awful. They can't score goals. They've had hardly any shots. And all these things are true. You just have to decide whether that's going to carry on, or whether you want to take the opportunity to target the fixtures. And I don't think it's right or wrong either way. For me, I think I want to go for it. Kane's ownership's pretty low. Son's is a bit higher, actually. I'll just double check exactly what it is. But overall, in terms of kind of top 10k, top 100k ownership, they're going to be fairly low. Son's overall ownership 17.3%. I just think with those fixtures, with a genuine world-class manager, these are the kind of opportunities that rise in FPL, which is probably why I'm going to go for it. I don't know at what point I'll be brave enough to stick the captaincy armband on him, given how good Salah is playing right now. But I like it. I think if you're deciding what to do with Kane, if you've got him, I think you have to keep. And if you haven't got him, you can think of a plan to bring him in. I don't think going for Son instead is bad. It all depends on the setup of your team, but I would definitely be looking to buy or keep, not sell right now. Mikel Antonio, should you keep him? Should you sell him? Right, you certainly shouldn't be buying right now. If you not got him, there's probably no point in buying him. But if you own him, which a lot of us do, 48.3% of us in total, right, that's nearly half the game owns Mikel Antonio. Should you sell or should you keep? Now, unfortunately, there's not a yes or a no answer here. I think it's going to depend on a lot of your team. So to give an example for my team, and I will run through it a bit more tomorrow. Right now, if I had to make the decision, bearing in mind I've got like another three days to think about it, to overthink it probably, I would probably sell him because I've looked at my future transfer plans and I need some money from somewhere to fund other moves. And Antonio out for another player we're going to talk about soon is probably the move that I would most likely do this week, just to target the fixtures. And I don't want to contradict myself because fixtures do matter, but so does context. So for example, if Salah has a couple of bad fixtures, you don't necessarily rush out to sell him, but you might take the captaincy armband off him. With Antonio, fixtures do matter, right? Liverpool, Man City away and Chelsea at home over the next 5 fixtures are pretty difficult games, right? So 3 of the next 5 are difficult. And to be honest, the other 2 games, Wolves away and Brighton at home, aren't easy fixtures either. But he's a very cheap player where you might have other fires, other priority transfers to make. And so the longer you keep him, the kind of less viable it is to sell him. I think this is the week. If you're going to exit from owning Antonio, this is probably the week it has to be. I think once you go past this Liverpool at home game, you might as well keep him because Wolves away, you don't mind playing him there. Okay, Man City away is tough. Maybe you've got a bench option, a defender or a midfielder you could play instead. Then you play him against Brighton at home. You probably play him against Chelsea at home. And then the fixtures get a little bit better after that to the point where you'd almost certainly want him back. Like if I've got his fixtures up here, like Burnley away, then Arsenal away. I don't think you'd be too worried if you didn't have him for those fixtures, but you're definitely going to want him for this run. Norwich, Southampton, Watford away, Palace away, Leeds at home. That's a really good fixture run. And even if he misses one of those games because it's over Christmas and the turnarounds are pretty quick, you're going to want to hold him all the way through. Even after Man United away, it's Watford at home. So we shouldn't kid ourselves that we will want him back. So then the question becomes, is it worth a transfer to get rid of him and then bring him back? Bearing in mind, right, I think the key for most people doing this is, will he drop in price? He have to get quite a few sales to start dropping in price. I don't think by game week 16 he's going to be any cheaper than 8 million. Now, a lot of that will depend on what happens. If loads of other cheap strikers suddenly start going off and scoring loads and loads of goals, people might suddenly knee-jerk and bring him in. And if he gets injured, it's a little bit different. But I don't think he's going to go down much more than 0.2 million. So that means if you sell him and you had him since 7.5, you're going to be able to sell him for 7.8. So you've got to find 0.2 million to buy him back. Now, that's not a huge amount of money, but from doing my own kind of transfer plans recently, money is quite tight right now. And I'm looking at one of the reasons I want to sell Antonio is because I want to get money. So at some point, by game week 16 or game week 18, I've got to figure out how to get him back. Now, by that point, the whole landscape of FPL could have changed. Right? I've got Foden right now. If he gets injured, then maybe I downgrade, right? We're all trying to go for like maybe Kane or Son. If they don't work out, we don't want to go to Ronaldo. You know, there could be money, loads of money to spend. It could be easy to get him back. So you have to weigh it up for your own team. If you've got a different transfer you want to make this week, then suddenly it's Man City away and Chelsea at home over the next 4. It doesn't look as bad. I think if you don't get rid of him this week, then I think you just hold him all the way through, which, by the way, there is nothing wrong with that. So if you've got other moves to make or you just don't want to get rid of him, while he's fit, you just want to keep him, then that's perfectly fine. If you want to sell him, do it, but you know there's a risk. And just to talk, risk is I hate using the word risk, right? Because I don't want to put people off, but his stats are so good. We should talk about them. 0.54 expected goals per 90 so far this season. And not only that, he follows it up with 0.31 expected assists. West Ham are playing so well as well. Everyone around him's doing pretty decent. And he is getting rested quite a bit in Europe as well, so that helps. Like 3.33 shots in the box per 90, or that's per appearance, sorry. That's just crazy, right? And 6.6 points per match. This guy is good. And anyone, a few people on stream said that his numbers have kind of gone down a little bit over the last few weeks. But I checked, over the last 4 game weeks, his expected goal involvement is something like 4th or 5th best in the league. Right? This guy is damn good. You know how much I love him. If he's fit, he stays in. And maybe that's something I've got to tell myself. But at the time of recording, I am thinking of getting rid. Only because there's players with better fixtures and I kind of need the money. Outside of that, I probably wouldn't be forcing myself or rushing out to sell this guy. Okay, so one player a lot of you will be looking to bring in, possibly even for Antonio, is Tony. Now, I'm not going to talk specifically about that transfer. We're going to keep it kind of independent of what you're doing with Antonio, because you might have other strikers that you want to sell right now. They are about to go on a pretty decent fixture run, right? Over the next 6, Spurs away is probably the toughest fixture. And by the way, we should say Spurs could be a very tough fixture now that Conte's there. But let's see what happens there. But outside of that, the fixtures are good. Norwich, Newcastle, decent teams to play against. Leeds away is pretty good as well. Watford at home is definitely decent. I think they're actually the worst defence in the league right now in terms of expected goals conceded. And the other fixture is Everton at home. And again, they ain't doing too great right now. They're missing Decore. I'm not quite sure exactly when he's going to be back, and I would expect Rafa Benitez to kind of sort the mess out. But they have been conceding a few goals, and I know they did well in terms of the game last night to come back against Wolves a little bit, and they probably could have scored again. But Wolves could have also done more damage in the first half. So I think Everton are... Look, I don't think we necessarily go out and target Everton or captain players against Everton necessarily, unless they're called Mo Salah. But they're not looking particularly great right now. Now, with Tony, a lot of people have kind of talked about how he's not really... I don't know, they've not really done enough, not scored enough goals. There's stats going around on Twitter about how he's hardly scored any open play goals from kind of going back 20, 25 fixtures, which is absolutely fair enough. I'm just looking at the returns so far. 10 games, only 2 goals, 2 assists. So 4 returns from 10 games is probably not that great. His numbers aren't too bad. 0.19 expected goals involvement per 90, 0.27 expected assists. Now combined, that's over 0.4, which isn't that bad for 6.6 million. But you would prefer to see it the other way around, where his expected goals is higher than his expected assists. And that kind of comes down a little bit to how Brentford play with Tony and Mbeumo up front. And obviously Tony sometimes drops deep and kind of... He almost plays like the target man, I guess, and with Mbeumo running further forward, running on, you know what I mean, towards goal. That's what they try and do. They try and put the ball in the net. It usually happens in football. But yeah, that tends to be what's happened. But when you watch Tony, he always seems to be in and around the box. Even if he's playing as that kind of target man role at times, he always seems to get himself in the box. And I think he's possibly been a little bit unlucky not to have scored a couple more than the 2 goals. Obviously, he has got penalties as well, which does come into his locker too. So, do I think we need to rush out and buy him? Probably not. But as 6.6 million forwards go, with that fixture run, he's got to be the best option right now, I think. I know there's Pukki, I know there's Adam Armstrong, who's looking pretty good again, back into the team after he got kind of dropped for a couple of games or rotated out for Broja. There are some good options about, but I think Tony is probably the best right now. And I think Norwich at home, you cannot get a better fixture to bring him in for. So I don't know if I'm not saying he's been massively unlucky. I'm not saying that he should have 5, 6, 7 goals by now. But I think he's played well enough to maybe have at least one more, right? 5 returns in 10 games is not that bad. And I think he's probably going to increase that output with the games to come. Like, they have had some difficult fixtures. They've already played Chelsea. They've already played Liverpool. They've already played Brighton, who are a decent defence. They've played Wolves away as well, who are also a decent defence, although they beat them 2-0 as well. So they have had some tricky enough fixtures. I mean, Crystal Palace away, second game, you probably say, well, that's not a great result. But the way Crystal Palace are playing, who knows, right? That could be decent. So I feel like they've done okay. The result against Burnley wasn't good. I don't think we should kind of put Brentford up on this pedestal where they're an amazing team, amazing attack, amazing defence, and no one's going to stop them, because I just don't think that's the case. I think we'll probably, put them a bit like Leeds last year, right? But I think overall, Tony, if you haven't got him, this is a great week to buy him. The Antonio to Tony transfer is something that you could do, but bear in mind everything I just said about Antonio, you'll definitely want him back. But I like Tony. I'm not put off by the stats so far. I'm not put off necessarily by the open play goals. I think he's looked good on the eye. He's got penalties. He's got great fixtures. I think it's time to buy. Okay, let's talk about Azpilicueta. A lot of people are getting a bit frustrated with him because they maybe got him in at the expense of getting Chilwell or James. And I think a lot of that would depend on when you jumped on the Chelsea defence, right? If you're anything like me, Game Week 7, wild card, you got Azpilicueta, you got Rudiger, and now you ruin it because you don't have James or Chilwell, or both of them, right? In some cases, I've got one of them, but not both of them. So 73,000 transfers out. He has missed 2 games in a row now. Now, one was from injury. I'm going to assume, I haven't actually seen anything about it, so Chelsea fans, let me know in the comments below if this is wrong, but I just assume it's because he was coming back from injury, and they just had other players they wanted to play, and I think we have to accept that with Chelsea, they have got a very strong defence. Reece James can play right wing back, Hudson-Odoi could play there. I don't think we're going to see that often though. Azpilicueta could play there, and they could bring other centre-backs in. Other centre-backs could come in, and Azpilicueta could just miss out completely. Same with Chilwell. Alonso could play there at any point. So the question is there's two questions. One, is Azpilicueta worth getting rid of? Like, surely he's not going to miss 3 games in a row. Even if he plays in the Champions League, he could also then play in the Premier League as well. And is it worth a sideways move to James or Chilwell? Long term, I think James or Chilwell are probably better options than Azpilicueta. I think Azpilicueta is fairly... nailed's the wrong word, right? But I think he's going to get enough minutes to be considered mostly nailed. But he is probably going to miss games, just like everyone else in that defence. Apart from probably Rudiger. I think Rudiger is probably the most nailed of them all. But I might even have that wrong, right? So I think given that Azpilicueta is a little bit more expensive, you can definitely make the case to transfer to Chilwell or to James, who are less expensive, and probably more attacking. We'll have to wait and see, right? I think FPL Physio on Twitter pulled up a quote from, not this season, but a previous season, where Tuchel played Alonso because of Burnley's height and physical presence, and Chilwell didn't play even though he'd been playing regularly. So that might happen. People thought that might happen against Brentford, and it didn't. I think you just have to accept, if you're going to make an Azpilicueta to Reece James or Chilwell call this week, there is a chance that Azpilicueta plays and one of those two doesn't, because that could happen any single week. I've got Chilwell, and I know that every single game week there is a chance that he may not play. He's going to mostly play, so is Reece James, and probably so is Azpilicueta, but not always. And I think, just to kind of finish on the Azpilicueta point, I think it's all going to depend on priorities, right? I got rid of him last week because I wanted to fund a move for Foden. We all know it went wrong, but that's the only real reason I got rid of him. I kind of wanted Chilwell in my team because I didn't have any of the wing-backs. If you've already got one of them and you've still got Azpilicueta and you've got other fires to put out, keeping him for Burnley at home is not that bad of an option. To be fair, Chelsea defence is great. And I'm not saying don't buy Reece James or Chilwell, because I'm not. But afterwards, it's Leicester away and Man United at home. So if you had to wait till Watford away then to get the other one of Reece James or Chilwell, whichever you don't own, then fair enough. The landscape can change in FPL very quickly, though. Let's not forget about Cancelo. Once Man City start getting their clean sheets, which they will, he's also very attacking. Let's not forget Reguilon. I'm just going to say it. Conte's now at Spurs. That's exciting for FPL. If he makes Spurs into what he has done with other teams, Reguilon's going to be playing as a wing-back. The defensive returns like clean sheets and stuff should improve as well. And he's only 5 million. So suddenly you've got Trent, you've got Diaz, you've got, I'm going to forget all the players, Cancelo, Azpilicueta, Reece James, Chilwell. Some people have still got Rudiger. You've got maybe Reguilon to come as well. Whoever plays right wing back, I'm assuming Emerson Royale as well. And let's not forget Luke Shaw's got good fixtures coming up as well. So don't get me wrong. It hurts if you didn't get the returns from Reece James. And right now, if I was wildcarding, I probably would have James and Chilwell. But I think if you've got other fires to put out, you could hold on to Azpilicueta at least for one more week, maybe for 3, and then see what happens. But yeah, sideways move, Azpilicueta to James or Chilwell. I love it. So there we go. The next couple of game weeks feel kind of pivotal in terms of the transfer decisions we're going to make, right? Do we jump all in on Spurs? How will they do under Conte straight away? Do we sell Antonio? Do we just keep him throughout the wrong run? There's lots of big transfer decisions to be made. Let me know which way you're leaning in the comments below. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and hit that subscribe button if you're new around here as well. Don't forget to check out Patreon as well. I've not done the shout outs for a little while, so apologies for that. Big shout out to Declan M and Lee T, who have signed up since I last did this. If you want to get involved, there is a link in the description below. There's also a monthly mini league with a few prizes on offer as well. The new league will start for November. The first obviously game week will be this game week coming, game week 11. So if you're signed up before Friday, I will get you the league code for that, and obviously I'll get the league code for everyone else that's signed up to Patreon as well. Do not panic about that. Just because I haven't done it yet, I will do it this week. Don't panic. So thank you for watching. I'll be back tomorrow for team selection. Big decisions to be made. A good bit of tinkering tomorrow, I think, because my head's kind of not all over the place, but there are still a different few ways I can go. But I feel like, honestly, Conte coming to Spurs, I think has helped me with my transfer plan moving forwards, at least one of 2 different ways. So we'll see you tomorrow anyway. Give it a like if you enjoyed it. Hit subscribe if you're new around here, and I will see you again soon.